we're not even surprised, so that's fine.
No, and
Yeah.
besides, like, come on. Sometimes that's the fun way to do it.
Yeah,
It is. It really is the best way to do it because,
you
when
are
I
the responsible one drinking tea.
yeah, you're drinking the tea, I'm drinking the alcohol cuz you got to have the tea. It's a balance. It's a
Yeah,
balance.
it's a balance.
I'm drinking a UCC Hawaii Kona blend coffee with milk, artificially flavored.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's
Sounds
interesting. I
fancy
don't
and
drink
tasty.
coffee.
It
Sounds
is not. It
Um
is not fancy, but it is tasty.
It is tasty. For Wilk, since you're asking, I still have that hurricane mix from the party. I poured myself a big glass of that hurricane mix, so it's almost done. It's almost done. It's just going to take probably another week, knowing my drinking habits. I'm very slow at drinking these things.
That's good.
uh, right. Depends on the day.
Okay.
I seem to remember some margaritas.
Oh, yes, yes. When you came to stay with me here in the States, we definitely got this big bottle of margaritas, and man, did
That
we.
was tea, I think.
Yeah, I think we emptied the entire bottle between the two of us within a few hours. It was interesting.
Nice.
We
we
we were
were,
we were smashed and watching romance movies, weren't we?
That
yeah,
sounds wonderful.
we were
Invite
laughing.
me over next time.
Anyway,
we
back to the stream. We're supposed to
Yes,
be
yes,
talking about the newbie experience, which
come
yes.
is fun.
okay. Yes, the newbie experience. That is what we're talking about. I was lazy and didn't actually make a set of topics related to this because I figured it's the newbie experience. We can talk about a variety of things, being character creation, going through the intro, kind of how things feel as you're going through the academy, and just, also the old bee feeling of the experience, which is, do we even remember the intro we had when we did it
I
originally?
actually do.
Oh God, that's gonna be
Oh,
interesting.
On my part, I don't need a point of topics because I've got things to say. I've been playing this game for a year, so now I have like an entire list of bases for comparison of what it's like trying to integrate into a 20-year-old community with
yeah.
absolutely no talent.
Nice.
This is going
I
to be so much fun.
This is going to be fantastic. Honestly, it really is. So yeah,
Please,
let's
huzzah.
start. Yeah, huzzah! Let's start from the beginning and just kind of start from the newbie experience itself. So, going through the intro and getting a character started. I feel like, our current intro definitely could use some work, but it's not as bad as the old one. The old one, I feel like it was a chaos, wasn't it, Tiani?
I mean, I started playing in 2006, and I had
Oh,
never ever done anything like MUDs before this whatsoever. I mean, this was a completely new experience for me on all levels.
okay.
I played role-playing games with, tabletop dice, papers, making characters and stuff. That's my entire experience with role-play. And
Okay.
then I started playing this. So for me, it was an okay experience. I got to learn some commands and I slowed it down to like, really, really slow
You didn't use
because
the speed up command, you used the slow
no, no,
down
no, no,
command.
no, no, no. That was like terrifying for me because I didn't read fast whatsoever. So I
Oh.
basically slowed it down to, I'm dumb. And everything was creeping along. And I was like, okay, so what do I do now? What do I do now? Okay, I need this one comes in red. It's probably important. Let's read that three times. And then I kept going. And remember, I sort of half panicked when they wanted me to kill something because I had no idea what I needed to choose. So I was like, okay, I'll just push because I don't want to kick someone. That feels violent. I don't know. So I just pushed over the barrel instead, and that felt so much better than just kicking something. It's just, I had, it was an interesting experience for me going through that because I learned a lot. So for me, it was a good experience with
Okay.
the newbie
Okay.
area or, you know.
And it does sound like you, even in 2006, you had the Slaver's Isle. So that must have been the thing for a while now. I know the original one was definitely the Achaea one. I just can't think of what it was anymore because that was 2001. That's been so long ago.
Yeah,
So,
no, I have Flavor's Isle thing.
okay.
So yeah.
And Pietre, I know you did as well. How did you find coming from, you've been in a mud community, but you've not necessarily been in this particular community before, from what I understand.
No.
So how'd you find
So,
it?
a little bit of backstory.
Okay.
About this time last year, some of my friends who have been in this community for a long while and have told me about it tangentially for about the last 10 years by showing me super complicated designs they made and going like, "Doesn't this look great?" And I'm like, "Yes, it does. That sure is a lot of words that you are using that are all very fancy." It always seemed high-key inaccessible to me, so I never really dove into it. However, since all of my online friends were getting really back into the sauce on it and they didn't talk to me much for about a month in a row, I was getting super lonely. So there's only two things you can do when that happens. One, find new friends, which I'm not doing that. Number two, pull up your pants and hop into the pool because I was tired of being left behind. I had already gone through several other hyperfixations. I didn't want new ones. So, fine. Hopping in. And everybody's very excited. I'm like, I don't know how this works. I don't know what I'm doing, and a major problem that I had is that my sense of commands here and use of syntax is not intuitive to what the system demands. So
Ah.
I had people encouraging me on Discord going like, "Okay, do this, da da da," giving remote assistance as I'm trying to hobble my way through everything and put in commands and hunting and pecking and all of that and stumbling my way through it. I barely remember Slaver's Isle because I got the brain of a goldfish. I don't know anything about IKEA, so saying, "Oh, this is from IKEA" means nothing to me.
No.
Not
I
a single thing. These are words that you are using. You are certainly making noises. And how this influenced my character is that I integrated a Dungeons and Dragons character that I had, and
Ooh.
I went immediately to the city where my friends were. That's it. That's as deep as it was.
That
Now,
sounds sort of like mine, but less random.
no, the whole occasion was spent going, "Ah."
But that kind of sounds like my experience when I was coming over from Achaea when they had the whole, event between Achaea and Aetolia. I knew Belgarion and Tarrant, and I knew that they were going to go to Shalom, which is now in Norian. And I had already played a mage on Achaea, so I just thought to myself, you know what? I'm just going to go with what I already know. So I made a character that was in the Magi and was part of Shalom and just rolled with it because it was the most convenient thing for me. I knew people and I knew the class and I knew the city. So it just made it easy.
That's always interesting. I mean, I started out, I wasn't even supposed to be playing this game. I've said it many times. My friend, who at the time was in administration, so he was in pools,
Mm-hmm.
one of the gods, and he would not shut up about this game, much like your friends, Pietre.
Mhm.
It was like, come on, seriously, this does not even sound fun. It's just text. How can it be fun? So I'm I decided to just try it out without letting him know so that I could tell him I've tried it, it was boring, now move on. Okay? And then I made my character and I was freaked out by how fast it was and how much it was to read. I was not keeping up with that. First time someone moved me from, where you get onto the mainland from Slaver's Isle, someone came and picked me up and walked me back to Anorian. And like, do I need to read all this text? So I was basically just scrolling back just to see if I missed something and started reading, and it was just room after room after room because I have no idea. I didn't have to read everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, when you're
And
new, you
yeah,
500% do not know what
yeah,
is relevant to you. So you're
yeah,
trying to absorb all of it.
everything. So I was reading all these room things that were popping up in like ridiculous speed because he was running all the way. Uh, and then he starts talking to me, and I was like, seriously, I haven't even caught up to half the rooms yet. What are you doing? You expect me
I,
to answer? And then it was like, you nod and say yes, because that's what you know you can do. And you just
yeah,
smile.
uh-huh,
And,
uh-huh,
and
uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Yes.
you don't
Uh-huh.
do anything else because that's like, okay, uh, uh, I don't know. Can you do this? And you're like, what? No idea.
uh
So I kept moving around, and by day 5, I was going up in rank in my guild, and I was like, I wonder how I can get to the next rank. I wonder what I can do next. And at that point, I was just stuck in the game. And this was when my friend figured out that I was playing. So not until then, and then was like, so how do I do this? Because I have no idea. I'm trying to find everything in all these help files because you're bombarded with help files all the time.
yeah.
Yes.
All the time. It's like, well, read this help file. And I know I'm much the same. So if someone asks me about something, if I don't have time to sit down and talk to them about it in game, I will point them to the help file. And I wish I didn't have to do that so often because I prefer to actually sit down and in game talk to someone to discuss it and develop some kind of role play around it.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you just don't have the time for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, being bombarded with all these help files meant that I was like, I just want to do this one thing. How do I do that? So I asked him, and he's like, oh, I see you're playing. And I'm like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. So,
and that was in 2006, and I think I've taken a break for 2 years in the middle somewhere, and then for half a year later on. That's it.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think. When I started out in Achaea, so my newbie experience is still very much the same. I didn't even have any friends that played MUDs. I was just a very antisocial person going to ECPI in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and I don't even know how I found it. I feel like there might have been someone in my class that was on Telnet playing Achaea. I think that might have been it. I can't remember for sure. Um, yeah, Telnet. Yeah, that was the only way we could do it in that class because there were servers and a lot of security. So you had to Telnet to do it. And I looked at him like, "What the hell are you doing? That is all text. What? Why?" And he just said, "Go try it. I bet you anything you'll have fun." I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'll go do it." And I made a character, and he did, since he was sitting right next to me in class. I had that advantage that if I was feeling, really stupid about something, I would be like, can you can't see me. I'm doing my little fingers together and just going, can you help me here, please?
ooh,
Ooh, ooh,
hello?
exactly as that. Can you come help me, please? And he would do it, but when he wasn't around, he had hooked me up with some of the existing players, like I said, Tarrant. Actually, my character's mom, Shazara, she still probably doesn't play anymore. Landon, a few others from Achaea. And they got me familiar with it, but I felt very much the same way where I did not know what I did and did not need to read until he told me. He told me how to turn off the verbose so that I didn't see all the room descriptions, and help me understand the commands, like Bull was saying in chat, or Wolkstick, that's Bull Rock, saying, you take advantage after you've been playing for so long about the commands and being able to understand it. They do vary a good bit, even if you have played other MUDs. They do vary quite a bit than
Yeah,
what you're going to see in some of those other MUDs. They are very particular to IRE. So if you play one IRE, you're going to be okay usually hopping into some of the others. You'll at least get the basics. But even if you played another mud, if you come into this one, it is a lot different. And the way it's configured, the way you do your stats, and all these different things, everything is a little bit different, and it is even different from a D&D, even if you've done D&D.
Yeah.
So it does take a lot of getting used to, and we are being bombarded with a lot of health files. So I do like, if I feel like a new character, if I, like Teani said, if I've got the time and I can see the character is really struggling and asking a lot of questions, I'm going to try to be like, hey, go out of character if I have to, or go reach out to them and just be like, what's going on? Do you need some help? I can help you with the commands. I can help you with whatever, and just try to get them squared away. Because I remember that experience, and it sucks when you are just looking at the commands and saying, oh my God, this is a lot of shit.
Yeah. And that brings me to 2 points that I really want to touch on.
Yes, go ahead.
But first, I'm going to go in with a solid disclaimer because this is recorded and it will be watched time and again by other people. So I want to put this right up front. Everything I'm speaking of is from a basis of personal experience of what I've been dealing with.
Yeah.
It's not a call out post. It's not me being shady at strangers. So I'm going to need you to go ahead and just be cool because I don't want people in my DMs just because they hear about something that sounds like something that relates to them.
Yeah. No.
Because I'm not talking about you.
Yeah.
I'm talking about things that have happened to me.
Right.
And on that note, if the shoe is fitting and you don't like how it looks on you, please take a step back and consider why you're wearing it.
Ooh,
Nice.
So
yes.
please reflect on your own behavior a little bit before you come yelling at me about something that I say about something that happened to me.
Yeah.
Boom. So,
Oh,
that said, number one, trying to integrate into this game without friends. I would not have done it. I would have left in 2 hours if I didn't have people to receive me and walk me through. So I cannot imagine how devastatingly frightening and unsettling and upsetting this entire game would be if I were going in without veteran players on my side. That's
Mhm.
why I make a real active endeavor to meet everybody with as much clarity and kindness as possible because of step number two. I'm 33 years
years
old.
old.
I'm not 5. So, people, when I say, hey, can I get some help with this? And there are people out there with a very antiquated way of thinking about it. It's like, oh, you have to discover this quest on your own. You have to experience the game or things like that. What makes you think I haven't gone through every single self-referencing file that I can find on this, going through a bunch of random syntax for things that just link back to a random thing, or finding a scroll from like the year 2008 and it has nothing to do with the current anything.
Yeah.
I just want directions. Please do not play games with me and go like, "Oh, well, you're depriving yourself of the experience." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Quit treating me like I'm a kid.
Can I have a small comment there, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you ask me in game to help you out, I will do everything. I will run you through the quest if you need to. I will guide you. I will stand behind your back as you do every step of it. But if you come at me and ask me out of character about a quest, I'm not as inclined to help you out because
Perfectly fine.
that's a different step. That's you out of characterly asking me to give you hints about something that you could ask me about in the game and get an experience out of it.
And that's perfectly fine. That
Yeah.
makes sense because that is still enriching your game experience. However, if I'm like, hey, how do I check this? And it's like, oh, well, check your scrolls. Please go to hell.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. It's just that so many times that I hear so many people, shouting out in web or on clans and everything out of characterly, being like, "Oh, how do I do this?" And I know I ask that too. And it's if anyone wants to answer, that's fine. And if I don't feel like answering it out of characterly, I won't. And I don't want to be bashed for not answering it out of character. But if you ask me in character, you are bound to get more help because then I get out something out of it as well, not just giving you the answer. I get the experience of talking to your character,
Right.
which
Yeah,
is payment
and
enough for me.
that is the fine thing because people are not like as a player, I'm not owed answers, but like building community, you do have to give a couple of allowances. You don't owe me anything. And if I'm not approaching you in a way that really clicks with you, that is fine because we're just two boats in the night, no big deal. However, when it's people who are supposed to be on my character's side and I'm asking something in character and I get some coy response, guess what? You get the little Sims meter with the double negative next to the person sign. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm asking for you for help in character and you want to dance around the point,
Yeah.
you're exhausting. Stop that.
Yeah.
This is the time, Rihrin, where I would like you to bring up that lovely little infographic that I found on Tumblr that explains why this is frustrating.
Okay, let me go ahead and bring it up. Sorry, I was testing in chat trying to see how the raffle command works, and it was bad timing. So people will know more about that later. But here's our lovely infographic here.
Well, congratulations, Feels Goodman.
I don't even know about the feels good man. Anyway, here I've got your infographic up on the screen.
Yeah,
This is
the assumption that somebody else is. What bothers
oh
me
right, move it
about
to the
not
left.
getting clear instruction is the assumption that I'm not already trying my absolute best. And there are people who are like, oh, well, discovering how the quests work is part of the game. It's like, what makes you think I haven't? What
Yeah.
makes you think I am not simply fumbling around and dying and having the worst time ever and actually sucking up my pride and asking for help and getting this kind of like absolute brick wall? Stop.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Nipsey, we are all on the red line as a human at all times, which is why I am begging for compassion and understanding rather than the assumption that somebody is deliberately sabotaging their own experience.
I mean, some people do.
Really
There are some people
being
that really do. And they've got like 8 characters that just got shrubbed or whatever, for 14, 18, whatever number it
Yeah.
was.
Oh, it was 18.
yeah.
And to be fair, yeah, that does happen, but the fault of the few does not justify the mistreatment of the many.
That
No.
is true.
So,
That
so
is very,
like,
very true.
yeah, I'm asking because I want to know, not because I'm lazy. It's because I'm relying on you, my community, for assistance and being told, oh, lol, they haven't updated that since 2008 and not getting an answer. It's like going on like Yahoo Answers and expecting anything.
And
But
Yeah, I
there
love
are
that
some
callback.
quests in the game where it's basically, you have to jump through so many hoops and none of them make sense
mhm,
that you wouldn't be able to figure it out unless someone actually told you the answer.
Yeah.
right.
So,
Like,
and some places where people have even forgotten how to get to them. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
why do
it,
they?
it exactly. It's I'm sorry. I feel like I keep interrupting you.
No, 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 it's fine. It's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Keep going.
it's the non-intuitiveness that I am constantly struggling against. And like, I have cried tears of frustration because no matter how many ways I try to figure out the syntax, there's nothing to allow me
Yeah.
to figure it out. And I feel dumb and then I get brickwalled. It's like, you know what?
Fuck you.
I'm going to lean on the one thing I can do, and that's roleplay, because I've
Yeah.
been doing that for over 10 years in different forms. I've done it on Gaia. I've done it on Tumblr. I am immune to most things.
Yeah. And one thing that should be mentioned though is that this game is constantly updating itself. And there are right now for the last almost a year we've had amazing practice training pools. I'm
Yeah,
not and before that they have started updating all the quests and adding them into the quest system, which is a really good addition.
Yeah.
which sort of streamlines all the quests and everything to make sure that people have a better chance of figuring out what to do and in what order and everything. Not all quests are in that yet. But if you find a quest that is not integrated into this, and it should be, you can always message or write in a bug or whatever, just update it in some way. Please send a message to admin and say, hi, this one not updated, not in the quest system. Can you please add it? And they will get to it.
That is true, and delightful to hear that and to see that because I do remember the previous administration and how dramatically everything shifted when we got a new producer.
Oh
Like, I
yeah.
was around for that. However, I'm still walking around looking at 20 years of game baggage in old bees. We're talking about how things used to
Yeah.
be and not looking at how it is right now.
Yeah.
And here's another problem that I've had. And I know that I'm sounding super negative, but I'm just getting everything off my chest before I talk about how much fun I'm having. I promise. I love everybody. I'm having a great time, but if we want an honest take, we get an honest take.
Please, please give us an honest take. It's always good.
So there is a lot of history, and people are like, oh, go to help timeline. I don't know where to start with that.
I, to be fair, even I don't know how to start with that one. So,
Great.
um,
Good.
I, please, people in the game, everyone, do not ever point anyone to timeline when they ask questions about things.
Like, just say you don't remember.
No, unless you
Just,
know for sure that they know how to use it and that the information they can get out of it is relevant and you know exactly where to look in timeline.
yeah, and telling me to go read books in the library.
No,
Fam, half of these things don't have titles. What are you doing?
right. So yeah, I'm saying that timeline is a really good addition for when you come further down the line and want to figure out things and you want to find more information on your own when you're settled in. You never tell someone who's younger than, I don't know, 25. Let's just go with a number. Never
Oh,
tell them to go to timeline to find information. If you don't have the answer, say, I don't know.
okay, but I started my character at age 28 because I cannot
Yeah,
imagine him at any age before
yes.
28.
I, I'm
I'm just fucking with you.
You can't choose anything but 18 from when I started. So you were 18 when you started, no matter what.
No,
And
I
that's
wasn't.
no, but when I started.
Yeah, it's like
Nope.
back in our day, back when I was a newbie, you had to start at
Yeah,
18. You didn't have any
Yeah, yeah.
choice.
Now I have rights. Now
You
I
have
have rights to
rights,
make my
yeah.
guy approaching 30 by the
yeah,
time he is allowed into the rest of the world and looking with the eyes of the ingenue. And like, here is the biggest problem that I have encountered this entire time, and that is the pressure to catch up.
yeah, please.
There is so much pressure because I'm surrounded by everybody else who is so far advanced in front of me. They have all these artifacts. They have all of this experience. They're talking about things that I cannot relate to and have no conscious knowledge of. I get to hear all about all of their drama. I get told who not to hang out with. I
Oh
get to
boy.
witness people talking shit about people that they've been working with, and it makes me think,
Yeah,
oh,
no.
because I'm even worse than that person, they must think I'm absolute trash just because I don't know what I'm doing. Because, when you talk bad about somebody else, it reflects on other people with those shared qualities.
Yeah,
So it's like, oh my God, this person was so bad with us during the rave. And I'm like,
that
well,
means
I guess I can't go on any adventures with you because you're going to be talking shit about how bad I am at combat behind my back, too. Now, aren't you?
right.
Clown.
And that's possible in
So,
every possible way. And
yeah.
it's the same thing for any change whatsoever. I remember a few years ago, Surian, for example, he was changing from shadow to spirit side, and wanted a slow transition, working things through.
Yeah.
And at times it felt like people wanted to rush him. Some
Mhm.
people, not everyone. I'm saying some people wanted to rush him and wanted him to be like, okay, now you're over here and now you need to be very, very, spirit all of a sudden. And it's like, no, that's not what happens. Even if the game transitions from, a week every real life day, you should be allowed to take the time to transition the way you want to.
Yep, I agree. And
You need to be able to build your character. I mean,
yeah.
Yes.
It shouldn't
Yes,
be just like
100%.
it shouldn't be
I
like night
hate
and
that.
day. It should be a gradual transition. Like my whole thing switching even from my character being in Enorian and switching her over to Duran, she still came over and was very much an Enorian kind of player. She still had a lot of her zealot tendencies, still had a lot of the Enorian style personality, but now she's kind of a miniature Sid in some senses, and not enough to be crazy like him. I'm gonna say that in case he's listening. But got a lot of the tendencies of hit first, ask questions later, and just what are you doing? That's fire. You shouldn't be doing that in the forest unless you know what you're doing, and shadow bad, and just all
Just
the things that
sure.
Durrani should be leaning into compared to there's slaves and we should be anti-slavery. No, that's not really a requirement of being part of
In
the
this
rant.
whole, getting levels.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
sure, I know that you want to become competitive. If you want to be a PKer, you want to get up to end game so that you can have all the fancy stuff.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but you shouldn't harp on someone who doesn't want that,
Yeah.
who wants to go slow and wants to experience the whole, oh yay, I reached level 80. I don't have to eat and sleep.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was such a big thing.
Yeah.
That, I mean,
I
seriously,
can only imagine. Like,
Yeah.
I got very much picked up and carried immediately by my friends bashing up
yeah,
to level 100, like all of that. So I don't know every in and out of my abilities.
no,
I
because
Exactly.
don't remember them.
Yeah.
no,
So, and I understand why they did that, and I appreciate it because I was mad from day one that people were calling my character a little. He's 28. He's a grown man.
right,
I like there's a certain level of patronizing that can go on unaddressed in the game
right.
because of people who are inexperienced.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you don't need all that, honey. It's okay if you're incompetent, blah, blah, blah. We'll carry you along. It's like, I'm in my 30s. You need, please stop treating me like I'm an incompetent and a failure because I'm already doing that to myself. I don't need external influences. And
Yeah.
it really leads people to like thinking, I gotta have these artifacts or else I can't keep up. I gotta do this or else I'm not serving any kind of meaningful purpose. People aren't going to talk to me or hang out with me because we have nothing to relate to.
Yeah.
It's like I have to keep up with people who have had years of experience ahead of me, so I need to catch up right now. And the problem with that is, like,
Right.
one, it's expensive. Number
Right.
two, like, you
Yeah.
feel real stupid if you have a bunch of abilities that you don't know how to use. And then you have to go back and ask, and people are like, didn't you go over that during your training? It's like, please,
No one.
please.
It's like, will you shut up? This is some good reason why, unless I know the player is a potential like previous IRE player of some sort, I will try not to go automatically go take them out bashing past maybe level 50, maybe level 60, something like that. I won't try to go get them 80 because of the fact that yes, they don't know their skills. They won't know the areas. They will go out there as soon as they hit these levels and die probably because they have no fucking clue what they're doing. So I try to make it a rule to if I'm taking them out, I'm definitely not trying to get them too high level. If I know them though, I'll go grind them up to 80, but past that, they should be able to go try to grind it up themselves. They should be able to choose if they
Right.
want that experience of taking it slow where hey, yeah, I get 80, I experience it, then I can go work towards getting to call. I can make it a whole scene of me being without essence and all that good stuff, and then go get 100 and make it a big shindig for me and my character that I can role play out. A lot of people just don't think, and I understand it. I get it, but we have such an old community that a lot of people do not think about the new player experience. They don't think about,
Right.
okay, what would I want if I was a new player?
Yeah.
And they don't
And
make
this is
things
not
newbie friendly, and it's just how it is,
no,
unfortunately.
they don't.
I
Like,
wonder how many
to be
people.
fair. Oh, you first, Tiana.
Yeah, I'm sort of wondering how many people in the game right now have actually paused enough to role play out before reaching to call, going through to call to becoming the end game raise they want. I don't think that many actually, pause enough to go through that transition and actually role play it out for more than, oh yeah, yeah, hit to call. Now I'm end game. Here we go. Now I can start role playing. It's like, yeah,
Um,
I
what kind of
think
race were you before that?
I had
I have
Mahar recently in Duran. He did that. And I think some of the newer characters, Nero and Ruin, and a couple of others definitely did, but the majority have definitely been like me, where I'm just like, I just want to get it done and I want it over with. So yeah, I definitely don't do it. But what about you,
yeah.
Pietre?
So to be fair, I appreciate that my friends did this so that I would be able to survive without dumping all my money on sleeping and eating. Like, they were doing this so that I would be able to keep up with them in the first place, and it was
Mm-hmm.
super nice of them, and I appreciate that. As for playing out to call, I have seen experienced players do it out properly. One of my favorite interactions with Holbrook
Yeah,
is the first time that I ever met him. He was concerned about cleaning out a coffee cup inside of the hookah lounge, and he used an ability from Archivist to clean it, and that tipped him over to becoming an Edrith, and that was the funniest thing because he was so embarrassed he had to leave. Because of all of the inglorious, non-special ways to tip over into an endgame race, it was cleaning a coffee cup. And I thought that was the most charming thing I'd ever seen in my entire fucking life.
That is adorable.
Holbrook is wonderful.
well,
If you have a chance to hang out with him, always do.
He's joined our
But
stream a
like,
couple of times, or one time. The first like stream that we got to do, he was on here, and he is phenomenal. I adore him.
he is great. He's wonderful. Best boy. 10 out of 10. Love him. But that said, um, taking newbies bashing, awesome and helpful. Also, you can always tell when somebody's an experienced IRE player because people can pretend that they're new, but it's like when you see an adult attempt to recreate a child's drawing and there's just way too much coordination.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
know, you can tell when somebody has the clumsies versus, quit trying to pull the wool over my ears. Who's your alt?
right.
Yeah, I've gotten better at being able to tell even if the person's really faking it. I'm just like, yeah, no, you're just a little too good, just a little bit. You're faking it pretty well. There's been a few that have like played the dumb card pretty well, and I'm like, okay, okay, and then I get around them a little bit longer, and we're in web. They understand webs almost
Uh-huh.
immediately, and I'm like, yeah, no, you're not a newbie. It's okay though. I
Yeah, it's
don't
like,
judge people.
God bless you.
The thing
Yes.
is,
So,
I have I've seen too many newbies, true noobs, feel like they get ignored or given that, oh, you're probably not a true noob anyway, so just do this and do that to feel like that's a good option.
Yeah.
So I play it safe. If I see someone who's a newbie who's asking questions, I will take them at face value instead. So I will probably treat you as a true noob, even if you're an alt. I don't care. If you feel like I'm boring, go ask someone else. It's
which
like,
is the correct thing to do,
Yeah.
Teani. That's exactly what you're supposed to do
yeah.
because they're role playing a newbie.
Yeah, and
That's how it was.
I will
the
treat them
thing
like
is,
in character. I will definitely treat them as a newbie in character, but if they start going out of character, just like Tiani was saying with the quest thing, if they start going out of character and they are like asking me to take them bashing and they're asking for me to give them gold and supplies and all this other stuff to kind of just get them going, that's when I kind of step back and I'm like, hey, you're not getting,
yeah.
this stuff.
syntaxes
Yeah, yeah.
stuff out of character, that's fine. And I will have no problem going OC with you if that's the thing that you want to talk about. I've done it with someone who's a newbie, wanted to ask questions about shapeshifters and everything, and that's
Mhm.
perfectly fine. I
Yeah.
can help you out with everything, and I can even run there, even though it's breaking through from, sort of half metagaming. You ask me out of character where something is, and I will go show you,
Yeah.
because it's a good thing to do. But when other people come tell me you shouldn't talk to that person like that because they're just trolling, they're not a true noob, they're just trolling
Oh,
you.
oh, for
I'm
heaven's
like,
sake.
no, because if they are trolling, I would probably be happier for having helped someone and then being trolled than if this person is not trolling and I let them down because I thought they were a troll.
That is the correct idea of how to work in a community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wonderful, perfect, ideal. That's exactly the kind of thing that would keep me here.
yeah.
So
Problem is that not
sometimes
is that
full
way.
what?
Not everyone is that way, because there are people who will always seem to think that, oh, this is an alt, you don't need to help them as much. And I'm like, it's a newbie. I'm gonna help. So if
Believe
everyone
me,
sort of took a, I don't know, took a moment to think about what they're saying, it would probably be
yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be fantastic because, like, playing as a perpetually nice and friendly person means that people think that they can start acting like shit around you.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
also don't seem to think that I have a memory for people being shitty, but it also means that I have a memory for people who are nice. And there have been people that others were like, oh no, stay away from them, they're way too dramatic, who have actually been super duper helpful and nice and made really good friends.
Yeah.
Sometimes out of character information, like, okay, I'm really stuck. Can you tell me the VNum for this so I can get started? And just being given a VNum? Awesome, because there's no way to really dance around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's really not. And I have to
You,
agree. There are
you can ask
definitely.
for
Oh, go
coordinates
ahead. Sorry.
in game.
Yeah, you can
In
ask
Yeah,
character,
coordinates.
you can ask for coordinates because coordinate systems exist, so it's fine.
Yeah.
yeah.
I did want
But
to.
like that's just an example though. It's like sometimes you just need to go like, what's the syntax for this? I'm dying.
Yeah, it's like, well, you just tell me. I'm tired of getting frustrated. I actually had
Yeah.
that happen with the vaults, and Val actually came and literally found me and like took me to it because the post says it would be at the ferry and it gives the coordinates and says it's near that. So I went to the island and I was like, okay, I went northeast. There's nothing here. Or no, it's apparently you go to the mainland ferry and then go northeast. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, no, I
That's
hate navigating that place so much.
uh anyway, but what I was going to say is that there are definitely a lot of players in the game that over the years I'm just, I don't necessarily avoid them. I've gotten to the mindset of I will interact with anyone unless at some point it becomes harassment, which there's at least like
Yeah,
one or two characters or people, I should say, that I don't interact with just for that particular reason. It's gotten to where, there's been some lines crossed and stuff. Yeah, that's the nice way to put it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I try to just keep it open. Even if I don't necessarily like that person, from previous experiences or whatever, it's just like whatever. It's a game. What is the harm in me talking to that person? So I will have to say, your opinion on some of the players that are told, oh, you shouldn't interact with them. They're so terrible, et cetera, et cetera. They do sometimes end up being the people that are the friendliest just because they're willing to go and give you that additional information. So there's nothing wrong with interacting them. There really isn't. People should stop telling you who to not interact with. You should be allowed to learn on your own. Now, it's okay to like put up the warning signs and say, hey, this person sometimes might cause a little bit of stupid. You may
Like,
just want to be aware that they, all they do is this, that kind of stuff. Just kind of give a heads up, but let them decide on their own and make their own mistakes. It's just like having a child. It's like you can steer your child and give them suggestions, but just you can't stop them from learning on their own. They have to learn. So you have to do the same thing.
Everyone needs to know is that you should never ever interact with Rihrin. I mean, seriously.
Hey,
Never. Absolutely not. Terrible.
are we
But
saying Rihrin or Rihrin? Like, let's clarify the shit.
Rihrin,
Yes.
not Riran, Rihrin.
Yeah.
Well, excuse
So
me. I am the biggest bitch in the game. I am the worst. I get it.
It's
It
you are
out.
so mean. You don't even send me tiny candies out of nowhere.
I mean, seriously.
There's no justice in this world. I can't. I can't have it with your bribes.
I'm sorry. I can't help it. I love bribing people. It's just it makes my day. That's what I do. I'm
I
like,
know.
I
You
know you
manipulative son of a gun.
I'm the most manipulative bitch out there. I want you to I know you hate me, but I'm going to just, try to bring you back in. I'm going to lure you back in. I'm just like, look at
I
me.
know. I
I'm
know.
so
One
soft and
candy at a
fluffy.
time.
One candy at a
You're
time,
just,
exactly.
uh-huh. It's like, oh, are you sure you don't want to be friends? I know it's questionable,
Yes.
but
Seriously,
but
I've gotten from Duran people. Aisha used to throw leek at me.
Oh gosh, she
what?
definitely.
Leek and melon. Yeah,
Oh, like the vegetable?
vegetable leek. Yeah, she threw
Huh.
that at me because we had this whole, there was a leak going on somewhere, and
Uh-huh.
she mistook it for leek, so she started throwing it at me, and Teani was like, "I don't even eat vegetables. Keep it." So they started throwing leeks at one another whenever they saw each other. It was hilarious.
Yes, like Aisha's, when she would play, she would have just random fruit on her and vegetables and just either
Melons.
mini pet deliver them or she would randomly go throw them at people. It just became a thing after the
Yes.
leak thing. So it's become a tradition of several characters. Like my character, me and Ayanala, we throw oranges, and I think that was started because of a lolly. We were talking about oranges in something. I forget what it was. So we throw oranges. It's a fruit thing. We've had that discussion before. So nothing wrong with cross tether RP, and nothing
Oh,
wrong with
no, not at
sending
all.
people random food and gifts to make them think, "What the fuck is this person sending me this for?" And I do
Yeah,
say the F word a lot. I should apologize for that. I'm sorry.
oh no, somebody's cussing in this Christian Minecraft server. Taking half a moment to pour one out for Saren for throwing rolls at me and never talking to me. Perfect interactions.
Yeah,
Absolutely loved Saren.
A plus
But
plus.
looping, oh yes, but looping a little back just to clarify because of the comment from Little Cinna, which is perfectly true. I think we all have people we try to stay clear of. Yes, absolutely. And if somebody is a bad person in your community, like somebody who is actively sending like weird sexual harassment stuff, yeah, send up the flare and let all of China know what's up.
Yeah,
But like the person who told me not to interact with somebody, I haven't seen them since last year, so we can tell who's really winning this game.
yeah.
But also, like, to comment on what you said, Rhian, it's not that you're trying to teach someone like a child because that's patronizing. We are all adults. What you
True.
really want to do is like just treat him like a friend.
That's a
Yeah.
better
Just
way
go
to
like,
say it.
"Hey,
Yeah.
man, you can make your own choices, but I've noticed this and I get a little sketched out. So good luck. I hope you find something better in them than I did."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
No,
like, I don't. Yeah. So I was like, "Hey, noticed, but also more power to you."
yeah.
I should not use
Generally,
that child analogy so much. I apologize. That's just
yeah.
because I have a 7-year-old and this is very much some of the stuff I have to do with him recently. That is all.
I understand. Yeah, no, this wasn't a criticism or a call out so much as I've been treated childishly a lot
Yeah.
in the game. And like, that's one thing I would like the community to try and swerve away from. Like,
Yes.
just because I
Yes.
wasn't here for the last 20 years, it means that all of the 20-year events of going like, hey, can you guess this random history from before you left middle school? No, I cannot. How about that?
And one of the things that you need to keep in mind as well is that there might be a cultural barrier when
Yeah.
it comes to speaking about things. This is something that I've noticed because I'm not a native English speaker. I'm Swedish,
Hmm.
which means that a lot of nuance, since it's a text game, is lost. And also, my way of using the English language is very different from native speakers, which means that sometimes I know this is something that probably drove Nipsey's first character that interacted with me crazy, is that sometimes when I say something, it can come off as passive aggressive, and it's really not. It's basically just me making a statement.
Oh
I
my
ha-
God, that is me too. And I am a native English speaker, but I have a bunch of issues, one of which is dyslexia. So I often don't read my things and they get written weird. And then my ADHD and a whole other host of things just make my tone sound really bad. I've been noticing it recently. Like, actually, people have been calling me out on it. And I'm like, oh shit, I did sound like an asshole. I'm sorry. That was not what I meant.
No,
um,
and for me, it's
yeah,
a different thing because sometimes I will not see how something can be passive aggressive because for me as a Swede, it's just straightforward
true.
and a statement
And just a
in some
statement,
way.
yeah. But we Americans, we take offense to things that
Yeah,
are said very
for me, like,
straightforward.
I'm just I'm just saying something, and I've had it thrown back at me so many times that and it's the same thing with don't patronize me.
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times too, and it's not that's not me trying to patronize you. I'm a teacher. I'm used to explaining things a million ways to different students so that everyone understands it. So if I say something one time, I can twist it around and say it again in a different way just to make sure that you understand me because I'm not always sure that I communicate it the right way. And it's not because I'm patronizing you, it's because I'm trying to make sure that the line of communication is correct.
Yeah.
which is
Next
I am
point.
super grateful for that because
Yeah,
I,
not
I
everyone, and some people see it in a very different way.
they
Uh,
do.
Yeah.
so yeah, it's one of those things I've noticed myself, and I try very hard, but the teacher in me is, it's there and it's not going anywhere, and I'm going to continue to explain things in different ways. Um,
Which is great. No, it's like a major vibe check thing. Like,
but it's
speaking as an American who is also very straightforward and also checks their words all the time because I want to make sure I'm being understood very clearly, etc., so forth. Like, you have never done anything of that sort to me because I understand that we are just trying to use the clear communication
right,
line.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, why don't you check this? It's like, I'm going to put you into the stew.
right. The thing
Don't
is,
smirk at me, just tell me.
I'm going to walk around and just smirk at Pietre now, just because I can. No,
Well,
yeah,
okay, but he might have to flirt back, okay?
damn it. Teani's done flirting. She can't do it anymore. Her broken heart is, crushed completely. She can't do that.
Oh
She can't
no.
deal with flirting.
Well, it's okay if he misunderstands, now can he?
Right, correct. That's okay.
Just another opportunity to write a good story.
All right, so let's see. Let's figure out what we've talked about so far. Let's see.
Sorry.
You okay?
I've got a yeah, I've got a lingering cough after COVID a couple weeks ago,
Oh, jeez,
but
yeah.
like I'm okay.
Okay.
I
So,
laughed too much.
well, that's a good
God
thing.
had to nerf me. Yeah.
That's a good thing. So we've gone
Yeah, no.
over the newbie experience as far as like the intro, talking about like just general community shit. Was there anything else
Let's
you had on your notes, like Pietre, that you wanted to like really shout from the rooftops as a new player talking about your experience here?
Yes, I do, because I've done a lot of grousing, so it's time for me to talk about how much fun I've had, because obviously if I weren't having fun, I would not be here.
Yay,
Can I just
fun.
break in with one thing first connected to the previous topic?
Yeah.
Of course.
It's one of those things that is also. I'm an English teacher, so for me it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, but many people who are not native English speakers play this game as well. And sometimes, if grammar is a little bit off, there are some people out there who can be a bit too much grammar Nazi.
Oof.
And I would prefer if they were not and they checked themselves a little bit, because first of all, there are some people in the game who are dyslexic and native speakers, and there are some people who are not native English speakers who struggle with language, but they want to play the game and enjoy it anyway. And it's difficult to enjoy it when also being judged for not knowing the nuances of a language or being able to actually say things the proper way all the time.
Yeah.
So just check yourself a little bit. If they are not, if they are not crafting and need to have exactly the correct grammar, don't go, for example, as someone was told, don't tell someone go play a European game instead if you can't handle the English.
Wow.
Holy
Wow, wow, wow.
shit.
That's a comment that I've been told that someone was told.
They can
Did you
go
punch
fuck
them in the
themselves.
throat?
I would have if I'd heard this person say it
Seriously.
and I was around, because that's really not the right way to introduce someone to this game. Help them instead. But yeah,
Teani,
yeah,
that is about the most sorry.
yeah. That when I was told this, I would, as Nipsa says in the chat, judo chop them if I had heard it at the same time as it was told. So don't do that. It's very important to be, supportive to everyone in the game. So
Absolutely.
yeah, sorry for breaking in with another negative thing, but it's important for people to know.
Here, we're gonna end that negative thing with just fuck whoever
Let's
that
go to the
is.
fun things.
Teani, that was about the most polite way I'd ever heard for requesting somebody to just sit down, stop being a clown, and remember that the world is larger than a 5x5 square in front of them.
Yeah. Tiani's very good.
Wow.
Tiani's very good about finding really great ways to tell people to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
That's fantastic and I adore it. But yeah, okay.
Very polite and not strangle people.
That's good. Call on your local Sisson to do it for you from the shadows, okie dokie?
Here, we plugged an ad for the Sisson. Yay.
It's what we do. We're defending this city, and we're defending all of the occupants. So if somebody is clowning on you too hard, call a Sisson today. We will take them out, and no one will ever know. Bye! Bring, hello. You can't find us. Throw down an eye sigil and hope you get lucky.
Here we have the in-game ads coming on into the stream. Join the Sisson. You always get to have fun in the shadows.
Hey.
What in the actual? I love this. Thank you, Nadu.
We have big hair? We got big hair? No, I just saw it all over.
No, Spirians don't all have big hair.
I mean, they got big dick energy. That's what they have.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I mean, I'm tired of people always picking on Spirians because we wind up having to be the drain catch for everybody else's cities and crap, and that's annoying. So I look forward to a bit of change going on around the city, and it will be coming with time and due process. But quit picking on Spine Street, okay? It's making me feel bad because it's oh, you picked that city. Buh, buh, buh. It's man, I got here 3 hours ago. Stop it.
Seriously, Spine Street, best city.
I've been hanging out on the alt, and it's not been too bad. But I will say, Durant's side-eyeing you guys, so just we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, we've been side-eyeing Durian since a bunch of people came in and tried to kill us when we're trying to keep our city from being torn apart. Like, everybody is going to be a little salty, and we understand that. That's fine. It's more for, like, stuff I've seen on the Discord about, like, Spine's Reach doesn't do anything. That's not true. Spine's Reach does great things when we care about it.
Exactly. And we didn't care about you guys. Boom. Okay. Anyway, let's get to your fun thing.
That was uncalled for.
Well,
I'm sorry, Cineme. I liked you being in Spines, but I hope that you find a better place that really suits you better.
Yeah, me too. I'm sorry
Yeah,
that you left. I didn't have time enough to interact with you because I was bashing too much when you were around. So,
I went on a camping trip. But
no,
I hope that the rest of your experience in the game is fun and fulfilling.
yes.
Like, I should have my character respond back and go like, "Oh, I'm sorry, can we get a quality assurance to see what happened?"
All right, so good things.
Good things. Okay. 1. In 100 people, you can find at least 58 that you're going to get along with. And
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
yeah. It's not all communities where that happens, so it's good.
Yeah, and like this is a very close community because as we even saw today in the chat about, oh, I can't talk to my partners about this, they don't get it. Yikes. Bro, this is something that consumes a good deal of your life. Why are they what do you mean they don't want to hear about it? Oof. I tell my roommate all about it all the time, like, Sonny, get this! And treat them to a solid 5-minute tirade about the latest drama. Like, right now we have basilisks for some reason. Like, we figured it out like 15 minutes into finding out what was going on. And we were like, oh shit.
And
Oh shit.
sleeping. That was
Is Layman is our guild NPC gonna be the heir of Slytherin? Oh shit. So, the memes began immediately in the Sisson chat.
uh, hilarious.
So there's a lot of good fun that you can have. There's a lot to explore. Since people are very worried about me preserving any kind of newbie experience, I'd like to inform you that I make sure that I do. I go through the woods. I look at every room. I find favorite ones. I pet the animals. I don't attack most of the things because, like, I don't need to. There's a wild boar here. I'm gonna pet it. I'm gonna pet that warhound over there too. Yeah, it's gonna remove my hand. What's your point?
It's like someone was walking around eating all the mushrooms they found.
Oh
All
man,
of
if you do it in Searswood, you're gonna have a fun time.
Oh, I did. I picked a couple and then I went fishing and slapped in some mushrooms. And I was like, just ice fishing. Well, tripping balls. It was fantastic.
for
Nice.
all of the newbies out there who haven't tried it yet,
You
eat a
should
mushroom.
you should eat them. It's specifically the ones from the Searswood. Go and eat
Yes.
one of them. Enjoy. Just as kind of a general tip, after you eat one, go walk around and probe things in the Searswood. You might find something interesting.
Oh, okay. I've never done that. I always just grab it and leave because I'm afraid somebody's going to yell at me for being there because I'm a big, scary shadow man.
No, they only do that to people who are actually, have been in there for too long or something like that. Or
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
but
I
speak
don't.
up in a bad way or something like that. Like Teani was in there exploring and wanted to go into the hidden away parts of Sears Woods, and she'd been asking Omay's members if they would take her inside to the secret passages and everything.
Nope. If
Don't
no
know
one
that.
lets me on that Sizzin boat, they're not getting into Ome special stuff. That's just how this works.
I can't get you into the Sisson area. I'm not in the guild.
Just
Anyway,
saying.
uh,
Just saying.
don't
uh,
do it. You will regret it.
around and not for it. But I mean, it's one of those things. I'm perfectly aware of asking some questions a few times too many will probably get you killed. So it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean,
perfectly fine.
that's another thing. It's like I didn't know about the whole Honoria don't be in this part of the city thing. until I was like firmly yet politely picked up and told, "Hey, buddy, you're not supposed to be looking at this." It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, usually most of the orgs, if you're not supposed to be in a particular area, unless it's something where, hey, it might kill you, they're gonna be okayish nice. They may not be, it depends on the player, but they'll be like, hey, what are you doing? And kind of make sure to escort you out. There are definitely some people that are dicks about it, but the majority of people
Yeah,
are going to be okay. But
for
it's
sure, but if you don't know that, then
if
it's
you
like,
don't know that, yeah, it's not like
hello?
it's not gonna be obvious. I do make that as a general newbie tip. If you're going to go into a new larger organization area, like a city, if you go into Enorian or Duran, any Bloodluck and Spines too, it's good to take a gander at the laws real quick. Help Law's city name, just to be aware, but most of the time, some of them are really fucking long and ridiculous to have to read, so you're probably going to miss it anyway. And I'm pointing right at all the rest of you for having really ridiculous, like, you've got everything in there. You got your damn, like, laws, like your internal laws and shit in there too. And it's like, guys, just make them simple so people can see the primary points. Come on.
Okay, we cannot do that because Binds Reach, as the catch-all, gets all of the arguers.
Well, then put them in a C help file that you can reference if you need to, or put them in a book and reference it. Like one, there used to be one actually sitting in with Bloodlock back in the day. There used to be one that would sit at the West Gate that the leadership could edit as they need to, so that we didn't have to have it. Same thing with Enorian. In fact, there was one at Enorian back in the day, so that you wouldn't have to have all that shit in the damn laws. It needs to be a thing again. You need to be like, shrink down the laws to like the essentials for newbie friendliness, and then everything else gets shoved into something else that can be publicly read. Like, it makes it easier too if you come into a new city and there's like the abiding laws you need to be aware of. There could be something, a plaque or whatever book, and just point to it and be like, make sure to read this shit, please. Or at least glance at it. You know, that'd be good. Yeah.
Remember how I said telling me to read a book won't work?
Yeah, I know.
Reading signs in the 2022? Impossible.
I am a devil for telling you to read stuff in a text game. And I know why it's saying the same thing. Wow, this is so terrible. I'm sorry though. The files, like, let's go look at help laws Spines Reach. How long is
Oh yeah.
this?
Oh my God! Don't.
Uh it's I have it auto do. Oh my god. I haven't looked at this in so long. It's pretty colors, at least. But
Okay. So one
let's
awesome
see.
thing
Help laws Duran. Woohoo! Ta-da! Anyway, just bragging on that
So
one.
the thing is, when it comes to Spirian law, um, it is basically set up to make sure that Spirians keep themselves contained.
yeah.
Oh
And
no,
it's
I remember. I helped write some of these laws back in the day, so I very much remember, but it's always been a thing of an issue now for me. Not like an old thing, but like a now recent time thing that I'm just like, guys, we need to make help files smaller. We need to make them digestible because there's just so much shit in these things. And it's valid and it's got valid reasons, but there's so much. Like,
so one thing I can say, and it's to explain to Wyatt, because like Wyatt, I am mostly joking. I know this is a text game. However, I have the stupid bastard neurodivergent brain that if I see a large brick of monocolored paragraph, I'm not going to be able to parse a single fucking thing. So, about, in January or so, Inc. reformatted a lot of our scrolls. So now we have a really functional directory, and it's super nice because now I can find everything with bullet points and all of that, so that I'm not just visually glossing over everything as I'm desperately trying to find the thing that I actually need and completely missing it while reading the right file.
yeah, I
So
would do.
it's a visual hiccup as well. It's because
Yeah.
it's like I have to find the precise right book in the precise correct room. Da 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 da. Da. And it's like, if you didn't read this book, I'm going to chop your head off. Like, please don't.
Yeah, that's why I'm like looking
Please
at
don't. I
here.
just,
That white
yeah.
text, I would absolutely gloss over it. It's just, it's so much white that my eyes just say, okay, I can skip all that shit. I just need to read things that are pointed out in color. I will say that's probably one of the disadvantages of us having colors and help files is that it's just a natural thing when you've been through enough games and intros and stuff. You look for the colors so that you can kind of make things stand out in your brain, and then you go for the non-colored items afterwards if you feel like you need to, like if you feel like you missed something. But usually you're just going to be like, okay, this is the secretariat section, I need to know about the secretariat, here I can read it. It's a natural way for you to review files. So if it's mostly going to be, all in white, then you're going to be missing some shit. That's just how it's going
Yeah,
to be.
but at least if you have colored headings, then you know where to start,
Yeah,
where to
no,
start reading
I
instead of
agree.
getting completely lost. And having indents and numbers and bullet points is very nice because then it's like, oh, oh, oh,
Yeah,
compartments, chunks of information. I'm much happier now
I do appreciate
because
this, at
then it's
least
more parsable.
in an Orient. It at least calls it out in big old red and says vampire and undead are banned. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of eye-catching that a lot of the older scrolls don't have.
I should
And I get
do
mad when
that.
the in-game thing is self-referential, like it has a little link to the thing that you're trying to find, and then it leads to its own article, which is just a base descriptor and not a list of syntax. It's like I'm going in circle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That I understand.
So,
Anyway,
back
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 to
to
your
fun
good
things.
stuff, fun stuff. Yes, let's talk fun stuff.
I am delighted by hearing about all of the things that have changed and improved because I am devoid of context. So, hearing a bunch of people talk about how things used to be and how dramatically different they are now, like, used to be that, like, Rihrin, you talking to me as coffee guy from the wrong city would get you in a hell of a lot of trouble in an Orion just because I happen to live somewhere. Yeah, like,
Okay. Here's some things. Let's give some history here, Tiani, on that one. So
Yes, please.
it depends entirely on the current leadership of the organization. Because back in the day, if we talk like super back in the day, like when I first started playing, there was like vampires in Shalom, there was Ashton, which was a clusterfuck. There's been a mess of things, and it's been slowly like split off. But even once once tethers were eventually established, like they were made a thing, it was entirely dependent on org leaders, on if you really force that heavy line of you can't talk to that person at
Interactive.
all.
Yeah.
It's not ever really, there's definitely been association laws, which are always just don't go fuck the people of the other side, please, and don't have romantic relationships. There's always been kind of those laws. But the actual chastising, there we go, that's the word I was looking for. I am starting to get a little inebriated. The actual chastising of people was definitely a leadership thing. That was not ever really a law thing. So like when, and I hate to call out particular people, but when there's been some in Duran, there's been some in Orient in particular, that's where you end up seeing it the most. Is more, you see it more than what you see in Spine's Reach, except when Spine's Reach was having issues with like vampires and stuff, it occasionally would have it happen.
Yeah.
But mostly in an Orient Duran, it would just be the particular leadership, and usually not even the entire. It would usually be like a half split thing. They would start policing it too much. So right now, we're in a good place that we have leaders that recognize there needs to be cross tether role play. Not necessarily super friendly in some cases. So probably some of the stuff I do is kind of protein on a line that my character has to walk very carefully. But most of the leadership is just like, they recognize this is a small community, and
Yeah.
we can't be policing that shit so much. But there is always, unfortunately, that risk that another player is going to come in and come into the leadership and be of that mindset again, unfortunately. And that could happen in city. It could also happen in guild. It's at both levels. So that's more why that happens than it actually have been ever official laws. It's always just been official laws. Don't fuck with them. Don't have romantics. But the rest of it, not so much.
Will always be some people who have that mindset as Rihrin. But the thing is, lately, I've noticed that cross-tether interaction has sort of opened up a little bit more. It
Yeah.
seems people are talking more about it. And it's not, I remember back in the day when there were these player enforced association laws where you basically couldn't be in the same room as someone else from the other city without them snooping around and calling you out to leadership and being like, okay, so that person was in the same room as this one for 10 seconds longer than it takes for them to, pass through the room or whatever, and you get into trouble for it. That
Right.
kind of thing. I mean, it was horrible.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Is
Yeah.
like it was certain players policing that stuff more than it being like official heavy law that you can't be in the same room with the person. It was more you're not supposed to have the romantic, so everyone was always suspicious as fuck and would call you out. That was more
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
issue.
And
Yeah.
it was ridiculous because it
Mm-hmm.
happened more and more to some people than others. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, some people could not even, try to talk to someone else in
Yes.
a public room. You couldn't go to Esterport, for example, to stand in a room with someone else without someone calling you out on a guild channel saying like, why are you talking to that person? Uh, have you been sleeping with them, or I saw
Yeah.
you two together 2 weeks ago, and now you're talking to them again, and we told you to stop it. And it's like, some people will not back off because they have this notion that they need to put you in a position where you're in trouble.
Yeah. And that's just
And
that's
Right.
that's
not too many of those left in the game right now, and people have changed their mindset, so that's good.
yes.
Yeah.
I
But
will
I
there
am.
will
say,
be a few people who are
yeah.
assholes that
I've
way.
got I've got the most random ass comment about it is that the majority of the people that do that policing that heavily are also the people that are doing it, and it is just a way for them to mirror their own guilt, honestly,
Yeah,
Yeah.
than
Oh
probably.
yeah.
anything else. But the majority, we find out the majority of the ones that have been policing, like specifically the one that had 18 different characters, were doing it.
Wow,
They were,
woo.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, but coming from my perspective, where you guys are used to that kind of hullabaloo and all of that, it's like, well, it's part and parcel, I guess. I'm walking in, it's like, that's the most insane and dumb thing I've ever heard in my life.
yeah,
Who do you think you are to tell me what to do? As a person, I am gonna go to Rassani's bar in Esterport, the neutral city, and I'm gonna drink
you
Yeah.
know,
her bourbon barrel whiskey, and I'm gonna have fun.
do some twerking, just get it on, have some fun. It's fine.
Like, if you know anything about Rassani, anything at all, you know that there's absolutely nothing scandalous happening in that room
There's really
between her
not.
and Pietre.
No, Rasani is like, yeah, you can't think that she's doing anything
Yeah.
scandalous.
Absolutely not.
But
So,
people
like,
would definitely have. There are certain characters that still would have thrown her shade and have thrown her shade for having her bar and having people of shadow in there. There's still been cases. It sucks. It's the same
what?
thing in real life that there's just some of those people that have to police everyone in the world, even though it's none of their fucking business. Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's high
yeah.
pitched.
And, like, I'm just saying, like, walking into that, it's like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. I just got here and you're not my boss. Bye. Which leads to another interesting aspect of being new to the community.
Mm.
A breath of fresh air and new perspective means that I can sit back here and go, can you explain that to me? Because that doesn't make sense. And it seems pretty dumb just because it's here on Legacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I came in with no drama, no background, no alts on other games. So telling me, oh, this part of lore is looping in with IKEA's lore, it's like, that means nothing to me. What the hell are you talking about?
And it's
And that's
not.
something that I felt was a bit difficult for me too when I started. I had no idea what Akaya was
Yeah.
because
I'm
I
not,
they just been given a link to this game, nothing else.
Yeah, people
yeah,
shouldn't try to
I'm not,
sorry.
I'm not gonna join IKEA just to find out? No, no, I'm not.
No.
I'm playing this game. It
Yeah.
needs to stand alone. People going in like, oh, this is the lore from somewhere else and predicting all that. It's like, let the producers tell their story. Calm
Right.
down.
Exactly. It's like calm your tits, guys. Just calm your tits. Calm your
I love
tatas, your mammaries, calm the calamity in your mammaries. All of those good things.
and
But coming
now,
it's like I
um,
come from that original like Achaea group, and even me, I'm like I make the reference a lot, but this game is its own. It's not
yeah,
anything at this point that should be remotely compared to Achaea. And I get why people are trying to do that. They're like, ooh, it's a pocket realm. So, what happened from Achaea that made Aetolia ties into the current events. It's like, just let them tell the fucking story and stop speculating. Just take it into the context of what Aetolia is by itself and
yeah,
look at that, because I don't think they're ever going to tie it into the Achaea lore personally, because
no,
they have worked so fucking hard to make it its own thing. Like
with
it was
everything.
originally an Achaea mirror. It was. It had literally
Oh,
like one or two things different, but it was identical besides vampires. And they have deliberately been trying to get rid of everything they can that was from Achaea. That's why, Ashton got nuked. Well, that's a whole other thing. But that's why a number of other things got nuked, why rooms have been redone, why areas have been redone, and why a lot have just been destroyed is because they don't want it to be known as the Achaea copy. So don't
Right.
worry about that. They really should not make that much comparison to Achaea anymore. It's not related remotely to Achaea
Me
anymore.
a bit too.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to people coming in from other games and being like, "Oh, it should be more like this game," and it's like, no,
No, it's
no.
its own thing. Please don't try to make it like
This,
the other game.
this is Aetolia. Can it please be Aetolia? Let it
Yes.
not be Aetolia plus MKO or plus Ikea or Empyrean
Mm-hmm.
or bring in something else. This is Aetolia. You come into this game and you'll learn what Aetolia is.
Yes. And you should
And
not have to know.
if you cannot integrate yourself into this community and this game and feel like, yes, this is Aetolia, without pulling in everything else from other games to feel comfortable, maybe this game is not for you. I'm sorry, because this is an awesome game and I wish you'd give it a try because the game is awesome in its own.
Yeah.
mhm.
You don't need the other additions.
Agreed.
But there have been some people who have come in from other games and be like, oh, I wish this was, and you should push this, and they should be able to do this because they can do it in that game, and that game, and this game. And I'm like, no, can you please not?
Yeah. Can you just let
Uh,
us be our own little thing, please?
yeah,
That'd be
can we
great.
just be Aetolia, please? And sure, some of the ideas might be good. Push them through the idea system, that's fine. There is a system to introduce new ideas. If they are not compatible with the lore that you might be unfamiliar with because you're new, or if they're not mechanically possible, that's okay. You can discuss it, but to an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, I had some really tough times going through this where the player came from a different game, came into this game and started talking about Aetolia needing to change because they wanted the game to be more like a different game.
Yeah.
And they started to say that we need to be able to do this. And we were like, but that's not mechanically possible.
Yeah.
Our characters cannot do that. It does not work. There is such extensive lore that prohibits this.
Yeah.
And we go on to tell this person that this is not possible. And they would still try to push for it to happen and try to shape the role play around their characters in that direction. And everyone was like, it is not possible. You're crazy, you're talking crazy. Our characters in character would try to talk to the person and be like, I don't know what you're trying to do, but you're basically going to rip yourself apart because this is not going to work. And they would not change. It didn't matter even when I think it was Chakrasul, an admin, coming in to say you cannot walk on the shadow plane because characters, immortal beings, cannot survive on the shadow plane. You would be ripped to pieces. And this character would be like, no, but I've just been to the shadow plane. And everyone was like, no, you haven't.
Like, fam, no, you can't do that.
You can't. It's physically impossible. And gods are telling you you can't do that. And they would keep trying to roleplay this.
Yeah,
And
I remember who
be
you're talking about
frustrated
too.
that other people would not buy into their roleplay and saying that, you know, we are trying to tell you that you need to change your way of thinking because it's not compatible with the game you're playing. So you need
Yeah.
to understand the game. And if you're having trouble understanding the game, please ask away. It's okay. And if people say this does not work, at least consider it and ask for a second opinion if you want to. That's okay.
Yeah.
If I
Um,
don't want to role play with you because your kind of role play is not compatible with my immersion, I will distance myself from you. And that's okay. You can go role play with someone else. If everyone distances themselves from you, then maybe you should consider your way of role play and change it a little bit to make sure that you're more compatible with the game. Ask questions on how to improve.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you do you. But please let me do me.
Yes.
So, as long as you understand the game, and please don't try to change it into a different game because
Yeah.
Aetolia is Aetolia.
I have 3 points that I want to talk about now
Okay.
on that tangent. Number one, an anecdote. There's this one dude who was playing a Sciomancer, and from the very second he arrived, he wanted to play as a Shadowbound, which is impossible to do because they are wholesale possessed and not people.
You get killed straight away. So
Yeah.
yeah, good luck.
Yes, you would, because it's like, oh,
Oh,
all of the Sisson are just side-eyeing you and waiting. Like, it's not
yeah,
a good move, and trying to force that into the roleplay, like, buddy, we're gonna kill you on bad faith.
yeah. You're going to
Because
get
we'd rather have you be dead than we'd rather, like, have this infection actually come to fruition. It's like taking out somebody before they're a zombie.
right. You you
Like,
you
read
die.
the room.
Right.
Re read the room. Number
That's
two,
yeah.
I do not mind comparisons between the games in a critical analysis way between like parallel storylines. Like if you keep it entirely in meta, perfect. I love deconstruction of stories, how threads are moving, like enjoying the tapestry and the weaving itself. But it only becomes a problem when people are like shouting about where they think it's going to be going in the game instead of being a good audience. Like, an important part of this is that the pools have worked really hard on all of our stories, and speculation is fun, great, and it generates hype,
Yeah.
but you do have to sit down and listen and be a good audience member. You don't just shout in the middle of the play, "Look out behind you!" Like you gotta work with what you're being given instead of trying to make it what it is. And it's important to know that everything you do in this game, it is noticed. It
Yeah.
is remembered and it will be reviewed, and if it's deemed interesting enough, it will make a lasting impact. Pietre's first attempt at making liqueur was because Ethne inspired him. It was the first time he had witnessed a goddess in person, and he was like, "Oh, this is what we got." And now she is selling the liqueur of a shadow boy in her private cafe
Nice.
and with citation. And he is honored. And if there was still that bullshit about, like, oh, you're from the other tether, we're not allowed to talk, this wouldn't happen. He wouldn't have some of his best friends and trauma buddies who are also survivors of shit that he's lived through if there were any kind of that drama. So I can say that the community has really moved forward in a positive way from what it was, because a lot of people are still clearly reeling from a lot of nonsense that came in the yesteryears.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
see. Point number 3. The things you do are not ignored. You do not have anonymity, which is a word that I struggle to say quickly because it's like trying to say anemone.
It is very difficult.
It is difficult to say anonymity, but how you interact with others, it is important. Like, if our role plays don't line up, cool, but don't cause problems for me tangentially if I cannot stand to talk to you. Like,
Yeah.
if I have to clean up after you, I'm going to resent you.
Yeah.
It's okay if we don't get along, but don't make trouble for me. I am just living my life, trying to cope with the incomprehensible horrors going on around me.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
I think that most people have actually, the community has become much better at figuring that out than it used to be.
Yeah.
At least I've noticed a change in it. The atmosphere in the game the last year, a bit more, since the change of the producer has made a huge concerted effort to become more positive.
Good.
And I think that it's not just um, because of the change in producer. It's people have been called out, and people have had all these forum threads where people have been talking about it. And I think that it's good to weather things, and it's good to air things. I would rather be told if I'm doing something wrong so I can change it. And that's always been my my way of doing things. And
'Cause-
I think I really, really wish sometimes that I could dare, but I'm too nice. But if I could dare to just go out on forums and just say that this person needs to change this thing. I do that in person instead, but at times I'm wondering if that's enough. Sometimes people who get told things in person will not change the way they are interacting with other people. They will change how they interact with you, but that might be an issue for other people, even if they don't know how that they have done this to other people. Right? So if someone does something to me that is like, okay, you crossed the line, don't do this, and I tell them and they cross the line one more time, and I'm like, oh, come on, I told you once already. If they do this to someone else and still don't change, how are we going to make sure that they actually change for the better for the community and not chase someone away if we don't air things and if we don't tell people that this is happening? It's
This,
it's difficult, but yeah.
yeah, and you're not wrong. That's also why I put a disclaimer at the beginning of everything that I've said.
Yeah.
Because, like, if the shoe fits, put on a different shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Boom.
it's one of those things that if someone has a problem with me, just come talk to me and I will apologize openly in a post that everyone can see that I was told I did this wrong and I'm going to work on correcting it because I want to show that if I've done this to anyone else, just know that I've been told I'm changing.
Yeah.
Which is good because, like, that's where focusing on the community actually brings us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there are plenty of people out here who are trying to lone wolf it, and that literally doesn't work in any way.
Yeah.
I
It never
mean,
does.
I was gonna say, like, in some games, if you're one of those kinds of people, it can work. It just depends on if you're a social person or not. Because there's definitely plenty of people that just come on, do their PK thing or their PVE thing, and kind of keep to themselves and just
Yeah.
log off afterwards, and that's fine. If that's how they enjoy the game,
Yeah,
that's fine. But
and
for the
that's fine,
majority,
but
yeah, it's like for the majority of us, I think we have to be just an open-minded community. Try to think about others' experiences, and try to just be, more cognizant. Is that a good word for it? Cognizant?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thoughtful, considerate.
Thoughtful, considerate.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
I'm not dunking on people who log on, do their things, and log off. They are living their best life. There's this one person who is just hanging out on the Esterport Bridge all the time and goes fishing. That's as much as I've ever seen them do, and good
More
for
power
them.
to them. Yes.
They are doing exactly what they want and hurting nobody. Awesome.
Exactly.
And you can play an introvert character and make them not be a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If your character is an introvert and a jerk, well, I don't know what to do with you. My character is going to treat your character like a jerk
Yeah.
because you're being mean. And if you're talking shit about other people, he's not going to think very well of you.
No.
Because, like, your actions have consequences in and out of character.
You know,
Da da da.
that's actually a very good newbie conversation point, is that although we're talking about, the newbie experience and everything, it is good to remind players and new players that the things you do have consequences in this game, and they will follow you, unfortunately, for quite a while in some instances. So, if you're a new player and you want to try to, make a decent footing in the game, don't, start off being an absolute jerk unless that's just kind of how you want to play your character. If you want to, all power to you. But it doesn't necessarily mean that many people are going to want to interact with you. And if you're looking for interactions, they may just not want to do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
Dickish
true.
characters,
Like,
people just, they look at that and are like, how about no?
yeah, it's like, if you're talking this way about other people, why do you want to be on my good side? What makes me special?
Yeah.
You're sus. You're sus as all hell. I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
Which means, like, you're gonna get some consequences. Now, mind you, here is where an important element comes in. As I said before, I've had plenty of experience writing and role playing, and this is where my saving grace is, because, like, if I were not a good writer, I would not have gotten nearly as well established in the community as I am.
Right.
Because although I am not good at most things, I can write a damn good story.
Yeah.
So it takes a certain amount of experience and class to be able to pull off an unsavory character. So
Mm-hmm.
hats off to Nipsey, you mad bastard. You are doing the absolute most, and I love you.
Yeah.
And yes, I am calling people sussy bakas, but you need to add some like little angry eyebrows onto that woo.
I would actually say, and I'm gonna be honest here. Brooks knows that I love him, and Nipsey. I call him Brooks. It's a force of habit from years of knowing him. I will say part of knowing him is that some of what he gets away with is probably because of the fact that we already know how he is.
Right.
So we kind of just let him be, because he always ends up playing just a little bit of a, not a shitty character, but like just a little bit crazy, and that's fine if that's the kind of energy you enjoy.
Sometimes, sometimes a narrative really does need a cad, a villain, and a foil. And also, everybody is living a little bit vicariously by watching this mad lad go about his business. So it's like, all right, you know what? I should be complaining, but I'm going to go along with the bit.
Exactly.
I'm going with the bit.
It's like, I'm just going to watch, and I'm going to eat my popcorn over here. In this case, it's actually a crumble cookie. Absolutely delicious. Nice. I'm going to eat my cookie and just watch what he's doing. And then maybe comment to be funny. Like, we just had our shouts there, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you shouting about? And we're going to have that relationship, and it's all good. But I do think that tends to be the benefit. Yes, crumble cookies are so good. But I do think that's the benefit of having a player that's been around for a while. If it was someone that was a little bit newer, I think more people would end up giving it a little bit more sus eyes and kind of just like, what's your deal? But I do feel like we do have a better enough community that people get away with a lot more shit than we used to let people get away with, which is not, that's to say our old community was much more shitty and our current one is very good. So props to everyone listening and to our current community. I'm very happy with you all. There are very few reasons for me not to play anymore. And I definitely had a point where I thought about quitting again just because it was a little bit cray in a bad way.
Congratulations, everybody. We have grown as people and as a society. Good job.
Woohoo!
On that
COVID
Yeah.
note, the
COVID did
question:
it.
What?
how did you build your character when you started out? What is it that? How did you think, and what did you think about when you created your character? Backstory. How far have you come with that? What kind of elements have you put into your character that you didn't have from the beginning? Just to build and make them deeper as characters.
Okay, so on my part, I had a character who I was bringing over from a Curse of Strahd campaign. He's a Vistani, and he had his own business in that campaign. He was working as an arcane trickster, and I was like, this guy could probably fit in the setting because my other D&D character at the time was a Kenku named Lucky Jinx, and the third one I had was Wula, the kobold sorceress, who's more like a vibrating explosive chihuahua. So I was like, which one is actually going to get taken seriously as a person? It's going to be Pietre.
I don't know. The Chihuahua would have been pretty hilarious.
Oh, it would have been, but now we have Nikki, who's perfect in
That's
every
true.
way.
That is true.
Yes, yes, yes. So everybody was like, hey, this lines up with Al Jazeera, which just got blown up literally last week. And I was like, okay, then he was in Slaver's Isle when that happened, is unaware that his home that he has never left has been completely destroyed.
Oh, that's good.
Right. So the fact that he has never been out of Al Jazeera is why I could get away with, in character, being fairly unaware of what's going on around me or the history of the rest of the world.
Yeah,
I can't give away too much of his backstory, but he was very sheltered.
yeah.
But the things that he was taught how to do are to be entertaining, how to make coffee, how to cook, how to dance, how to sing, and how to be pleasant. He's there to be viewed and appreciated and enjoyed.
Oh,
So,
that's good.
he's very good at being charming and friendly, and luckily, he likes to do that. He likes people quite a lot. So, he found a place where he could actually excel in that because he's not good at combat, so he's not going to be much help on the field, which is where people want him to be sometimes. And he's like,
How about
I
no?
know which way I'm supposed to be stabbing, but I hope you're not asking for anything fancy, which makes,
Just in the coffee pot and slam it in their face. That's
yeah,
okay.
sure. But then this is why I was laughing so hard at Wyatt going like, "Hey, you're an absolute madman just going for the body." I'm like, I could have targeted the heads because it helps comp for the fact that I'm also unaware of this world. Like, I get to grow along with him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a path that meant that my character would have some genuine I don't know what's happening and being able to pull it off with some grace and panache. Like, he smiles very sweetly and listens carefully and is like, what the fuck are these people talking about?
That's a good way to go about it. I mean, I sincerely enjoy that. Um, just,
It's because I'm a good writer.
no, but I mean, seriously, just, going from, if you don't know the game, don't try to be a character that knows too much
Yeah.
when you start out. That's a very good idea or a very good tip to anyone who starts playing a character. Don't go into the game as if you don't know anything or
Uh-huh.
you know one small thing or something, because that means that you have a bigger potential to grow
Mhm.
and you can build on your character, even if you're an alt.
Yeah, and I will say this. It is embarrassing and it feels like absolute shit. And like you're gonna feel stupid 80% of the time, and you just have to sit there and soak it. because people will be telling you things like, "Oh, well, you should be able to do this." Da, da, da. "Oh, but it's okay, honey. Don't worry about it. You can go things at your pace." It's like, ah, uh, stop. So it's like, what do you mean? Your character was alive for that. Bitch, I went to college. My brain is full of cartoon jingles. Stop.
Yeah, I think people, that is the benefit of making a character that's only 18 years old, is that you will not know any of the history because you were probably a kid growing up. That's why I often go with an 18-year-old still, just because of that fact. Like, you may have a basic idea of what you want your character to be, you may have a basic idea of the lore, but any current events, I can play around not remembering or knowing shit, especially for the organizations and stuff I end up joining, because I'm 18. I could be an easily sheltered child that
Yeah.
just, got captured and, I'm now free. Whatever I want to write it as. So it does
Yeah,
help.
it does. Like, that's one of the learning things, because apparently I'm older than Pietre's older than Bamathis,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
If
is
you're
very funny because now it's like, you good, buddy? You need
you
someone to take you under your wing?
Your character is 3 years older than mine at this point. As 3 years older than Rihrin. So yeah, I think Rihrin's actually probably younger than Bamathis. I think he's like 35 technically. What year was he born? It says in his honors, right? Right?
Let's find out.
476. So yes,
Yeah.
my character is 7 years older than Bamathis.
He is such a baby.
He is such a
He is just
baby.
You see why Teani was like, oh my goodness, I need to take care of this guy, and I don't wanna.
Is Nipsey really
He's
that
just
young?
frustrated.
Nipsey. Oh my God. Well,
He's a
actually, that
baby.
that totally lines up for 23-year-old right here.
He's a brat. So yeah, but yeah, Teani is decidedly older, and I mean, when she was told she should join Bamath's legion, she was like, "Oh, do I have to?" But since it was Severn basically saying that, yeah, you should be my eyes and ears. Can you please join? She was like, okay, yeah, sure, I will.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
So she joined basically just to be there and help guide him in a way to not be such a teenage boy.
yeah.
But he still really is. Like I
Yes,
feel like that's leaned
and
into a
at
lot.
the same time, it's like, so Tiana's like not a mothering type, which is something that her in-game children can attest to. Uh, she never really wanted children, and the first kid that approached her about, adopting her startled her enough to be like, can I think about it?
Which is
uh,
a reasonable response. I would do
it
the
was like,
same.
um, well, maybe. I don't know what you expect of me. Can I just, if you're over there and I'm over here, is that okay? And it was like, okay, good. I can be a mom, I suppose. So she's very not the mothering kind of person. If they need help, she'll help, but she's not, she's not going to spoil anyone.
Yeah.
I just
Which is
that's the best
healthy.
way.
Which is healthy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So,
healthy.
but I mean, being that kind of person towards a god is probably not the best thing. The number of times that Teani has felt like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, when speaking to Bamathis has been ridiculously many. Mostly because she feels like I should not speak to a god like this, but he needs to hear it. Or this is probably, it's my best version of trying to tell him he's an idiot and without offending him too much. Maybe,
Oh man.
maybe. Big
No.
emphasis.
Okay, all right.
It's like
I,
Uh,
I'm loving this parallel because Pietre just talks directly to gods like, "Hello, how are you doing? Well, thank
Yeah,
you." Da, 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 da. All kinds of polite. They're treated just as well as his customers because
yeah. But that's the thing. Teani has not been very reverent towards Bamathis because she's not
listen,
a follower of his. She's been in his order. She's been part of his order as one of the officers. She's even been promoted a few times. And it's basically been because she's done something that has been okay. But she's never been loyal to Bamathis. In
listen, I
her time in his, she was always a follower of the spy master, Sabur.
mhm,
Yeah.
yes.
And that was fine. Bamathis was okay with it to a point when he started being like, okay, I know that you're not my follower, so can you please just shut up right now? Okay,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
personally,
But yeah, that kind of role play was really fun. So in a way, I'm sort of sad that Teani left, but at the same time, it felt like the right thing to do. So she's not part of the Legion right now, which it's good.
he grows up so fast. But I also think like,
You go ahead, Pietre.
sorry.
Yeah.
I also think like another element of being a new person is coming in and seeing all of these organizations and going like, this is something Pietre actually thinks about. He's like, does anybody talk to these people normally? Is anybody normal about this? That's why
There's
he keeps making them coffee because it's like, you know, they're they exist too. You might as well be nice about it.
Yeah,
Here
they
you
might
go. Stay out of my house.
Yeah,
yeah,
I will say that there are definitely some of them that you can't do that with. Like I mean, you can still do it, but you may have bad consequences. But as a
okay.
player, I have used that definitely just food and drink, random shit as an interaction to get a conversation with a god or try to, just because I'm like, you know what? They appreciate gifts, right? So just treat them normal and give them stuff. It'll be fine. Um,
And like you can be
That's
casual without being flip, though. It's like, use
yeah.
your manners, be courteous, but you also don't have to be like, "Oh, holy father."
Oh,
no.
holy
Yeah,
hern.
just goes around and explores things. So one time she was exploring in Tecpatl's cradle,
Mhm.
and Omei pops in, and it's like, um, hi, uh, just looking at this rock here. Can you nudge it aside so I can go inside? She was like, no, many have tried. Yeah, I can't do it, can I? You can try. And it was a very nice, very natural interaction without necessarily doing anything. It was just, standing in front of a passage that was probably meant to not be possible to go through for mortals at all. And Teani being like, I'm super frustrated because I want to explore the entire world, and this little crack in here I can't, go to. And you're standing right here. Can't you just drop me inside? And Omei is basically smugly saying, no, I won't. But it's fun with those kinds of interactions. And at the same time, Tiani was very polite because you should always be polite towards gods for her.
Yeah,
I mean, not every character is like that. And
yeah.
and that's perfectly fine. But Tiani is like, you should at least try to be respectful towards gods. And I, as someone, as Sina says in the chat, gods still terrify me. That's not just for you. Trust me, I have played this game, and every time I interact with someone from pools in any way, I get sweaty palms. I freak out about my spelling. I think that everything I write is exceedingly horrible and
Mm-hmm.
terrible roleplay, and I regret everything I push out because I feel like I could write it 10 times better if just given more time. And at the same time, I don't want to take too much time because then I feel slow. And I know I shouldn't feel these things because there are people on the other side as well. So they are patient with you if you need the time to respond in a good way. And they make mistakes as well. So, but
Yeah.
it's the same way every time. I just it it's slightly terrifying for me knowing now that I have an event coming up where I
Oh.
will have to interact with fools, and the focus will be on me
Yep.
with my level 200 event.
Well, good
But
thing is it can be as private as you want it to
I know,
be.
I know. At the same time, it's like I want it to be awesome, and I don't want it to be all about me. I want it to be inclusive in a way, but at the same time, I'm gearing up for interaction with pools without sweaty hands and
Well,
having my brain work.
well,
So,
good thing is you could do it like what Maz did, where he basically did what one emote in his entire event, and the rest was just the admin. You can always go that route and just let the
I
admin
want
control
to,
it.
I want to interact. I want to do that. So it's fine, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm just,
You get
it.
nervous.
Yes, I get
He,
nervous, and I'm both excited, exhilarated, and terrified at the
the
same
same
time, and
time.
that's how it should be.
That's how it
So
should be really with any role play. You should be
Oh yeah.
excited, you should be, anxious at the same time, especially when it's someone new. Once you kind of get into a flow with someone, you get a
yeah,
feel, you're less nervous, but anytime it's someone new, you should have that sensation and know
yeah,
that most likely the person on the other side is probably having it as well because it's
yeah,
your first time interacting, be it a god, be it another player, and you should just embrace it, roll with it, and know that you're both going to probably be a little bit awkward as fuck, but you're going to get
Hmm.
past it and it'll be
yeah,
okay. But it's no reason
Absolutely.
to not try to interact with someone, be it a god or be it another player, especially even if that player is in some sort of higher position in the different like organizations that are going on in the game. Still go ahead and do it even if they're in that position because
yeah,
you never know, and it's always going to be some sort of worthwhile because even if it's not great, it's still story building and it's still going to add depth to your character of something you could say, oh, I interacted with that Rihrin and she was a bitch. Fuck her. I don't want to be talking to anyone from Duran again. And you could do that. But not that you would, but just saying. Use it always as a new development for your character. Put yourself out there because everyone is putting themselves out there in one way or another, unless, of course, they're the players that just PvP and PvE if that's all they want to do. That's all good.
that's fine. You do you.
You you do you, boo. That's what we say. You do you.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
My way of circumventing that kind of anxiety is processing it the way that my character would, and Pietre is respectful, but there is a good reason that he's not frightened of gods, or most people, or most things, or terrible monsters. There's a reason that he is just that chill,
yeah,
and you can find out in game.
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
All
So
right.
yeah, I've taken to after finishing my bashing thingy, I started making use of the background and history chapters thing that exist in the game. And I just want to give a shout out to everyone to see if you can start using it because it's really fun. I've started looking at some people's backstories and backgrounds, and it's really impressive. But at the same time, most people don't use it, and it would be fun to see more people actually put some information in there. Um, I don't know if you've known about this, Pietre.
Mm. I've heard of it, but the problem is that, like, Pietre is a very private character, and I also want to invite people to get to know him, so I wouldn't be writing a very long one.
Yeah.
No, no, no. That's the thing. So what you can do is basically just you write a small, short background for your character about where they're from, and that gives some people. a general knowledge. They don't have to know everything. For
Uh,
example, Teani is from Spine's Reach. It gives you uh, an opening to talk about Spine's Reach growing up as a young person in that city, for example. And it's just something to give people to read. Um,
I'll try, but he doesn't like talking about it much.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, and that's okay. I'm just I wish people would at least give it a small nudge. You can always you can skip the things that you don't want to have in there, uh, because it's editable. So you can bring some of the stuff in, you can remove some of the stuff, or you can play around with it.
True.
Yeah.
And it does tell enough of a story if I put something that's incredibly brief and redacted.
Yeah,
That is an opening as well of like how much you actually have to spend time getting to know him before he's willing to be more open with you than the average Starbucks barista.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. You could just have it, you could be like where, if you have the papers out. What do I have my papers out right now? Yeah, where you have the hiding honors line or whatever. It could be something for the background. You just put in a little snippet to try to draw attention to, some basic
Yeah,
points, and then you put redacted. You have to find out by talking to the person or something if you wanted
yeah.
to.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you can take, for example, you can look at view background Tiani. It's just one paragraph, basically, of what her life was like before she even started joining a guild, right? That's
Mhm.
that's the only thing you would know about that part of her life. If you want to talk more about her, you would have to speak to her about certain events. And then I've added history, talking about it as diary in chapters afterwards.
Oh, that's what I did on a character in Empyrean, because back in the day, this is me. I always start this kind of thing with back in the day because it's unfortunately appropriate. Um, but there was a time where we actually in the game people required you to write a background as part of their guild requirements. So a lot of people actually, if you look at some of the older characters, they may even have some.
They made her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I treated it the same way. Like I had the basic background that would give the story to your character, and then I started treating the history as a diary.
Yeah,
So it's not a bad idea if you want to be able to publicly tell your story. If you don't want to, that's fine too.
yeah,
Absolutely. It's just it's there, and that is part of why it stopped becoming a requirement. It's because people recognize and admin recognize it doesn't
yeah.
have to be a thing. Why are you guys making it a thing?
Right. And I'm not saying you should and you have to, but I would love to see more people use it, but it's okay if you don't.
Yeah.
It's just, it's fun to be able to read about other people and how they have, from an OOC perspective. It's just me loving a good story. So I just
I'll
want to,
put
how did you build up your character? What kind of thing did you start off with?
that I'm more happy to talk about out of character than in because he's
Yeah.
super private, but I will write a background just for you because you
Oh,
asked. I
Oh, how nice. I guess I'm going to have to write one too.
yay.
Yeah, how can we say no after that?
I mean,
Exactly. Like
see,
she
it's just,
preached to the choir here.
Yeah, sure.
and you,
More story. Whoo.
that's the thing. You don't have to write a lot. You can just, I grew up in a small village. And there's not even a name for it. Okay, good.
Yeah.
You came from nowhere. Good. Then we know you've moved to a big city. Everything is going to be freaking you out. Okay.
Oh,
It's
God.
so boring.
I have something really random to tell you real quick because I just remembered a hilarious thing that I bet you, let me see, view backgrounds or Teania. It's got to be erased by now. Yeah, it's been erased and changed since then. But for the longest time, Zortania was the name of my original character. That's been
Ew.
suicided a few times over. That's a whole story.
O-
Um,
OC, do not steal.
yeah, OC, do not steal. But there was her original background has been rewritten because before you couldn't rewrite it. I had to have an admin purge it. And the reason was, and Taz can attest to it if you guys want to find out like what the actual phrase was, but there was something like unga bunga or something really ridiculously stupid was a chant that had happened like in a ritual that involved her. It was a really, really stupid chant. And he has made that into his war cry now because of the fact that he saw it one time and wanted to immortalize it. So make sure when you're writing your background, you're very cognizant that whatever's written in there may become a meme at some point if you write something
Good.
that's very hilariously bad. And I did. I wrote
Listen,
it. It was so bad.
everybody throw out a good frog.
Yeah, good
Right.
heroic out there.
That's so hilarious that it became a thing. Yeah. Anyway, my
Anyway,
first character that I created had one of those requirements. You have to write a background,
yeah.
and the first character I made, as I said, I wasn't even supposed to be playing this game for that long, so I hadn't even thought about what to do with her. But after a long time of, playing the game, and I needed to write this story in, I settled on a backstory that was very, um, very involved. I gave her a hatred towards Sissin
Oh, I
because
remember that.
they killed her parents and then set her up as the culprit and as having killed her own parents and sold her off to slavery. So that's how she ended up at Slaver's Isle and needed to get away from there. And this was because I had no idea of anything in the game, so I just, had to throw something together. And I picked Arbothia as my home village, but turned out later on that it was perhaps not good according to lore or whatever, so it was changed to just a small village because my dad was a village priest or something. So it was fun trying to figure out how to get that done. But it added something to my character because she was, everything that had to do with Spine's Reach and Sissin. It just, it made her angry in the beginning. And that was fun because it gave me an enemy. It also meant that my character was enemied to Spine's Reach very early because she had no problem helping someone raid, even though she didn't know what she was doing. She went up there, stood in one location where there were no guards, and someone else teleported in and started raiding, and she just left. Of course, she'd been an accessory. She'd been helping with the raiding. She had no idea. I think she was, barely 18, had just learned the skills, could stand there and let someone pilgrimage in, and then left the area before they started killing things. And she was enemy to Spine's Reach with a 100,000 gold fine, which was at that point
Pretty
an
pricey.
insurmountable amount of gold. And it was like, I'm not going to reach that amount of gold in years. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine with that because I'm never going up to Spine's Reach. They have Sissin, and Sissin are mean bastards.
We sure are.
Uh, okay. And I think on that note, I do need to go ahead and get us squared away because unfortunately, my kid just came back from the pool, so I can hear them out there, and he is going to sneak in at any moment. So I'm gonna go ahead
In the
and
dark,
in the
in the
dark,
deep.
in the deep. I'm gonna go ahead and let us wrap things up. Not that this has been honestly a fantastic show, and you guys have both been a blast, and I hope that other people have had fun too. So, real quick, make sure if you haven't gotten a ticket yet, go ahead and do it. I'm going to give you like a few seconds to go ahead and get your last minute tickets in. If either of you want to get in, to the chest giveaway, make sure.
Already done.
Oh, already done.
Oh,
Cool.
I haven't been doing that because I wanted to give everybody else a chance.
Okay.
Come on, hop in.
Just hop in. It's
Okay,
like
okay, okay.
I didn't mean to give myself a ticket. I honestly only did it um
To test it
to
out.
test it out. So I
Yep.
have one ticket accidentally, but it'll be okay. All right.
My
And
message is identical to the one I sent in the last 30 seconds. Meh, meh,
ooh,
meh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I will go ahead and I'm gonna close it. So in
Go
five,
for it.
4, 3, 2, 1, boop.
All right.
And okay, let's see how this works because this is the first time I've done this. So I'm learning. Let's go ahead and
Oh,
draw. Woo, Nadu.
Nadu!
Yay!
I'm gonna go.
Congratulations.
I'm gonna go
Repetitive
buy
number.
your 5 chests now. And this is because any of the subscriptions that people have been buying, I'm using the money to do these giveaways, and I was trying to wait until like end of month to make sure I could see roughly how much we were going to have. So that's why we're doing this today, since it's the end of the month and we're celebrating. So there you go. You should be getting 5 chests here momentarily.
Hi, Gremlin. My cat just came to say hello.
Hello, kitty. El
Yeah,
gato.
my cats are running around. I have one kitten who's currently carrying around her. She has this kid's rattle thingy that she loves, and she's carrying it around in my apartment, wanting me to play with her.
That's
So
so cute.
so you should go play with El gato then. You should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go help my brother move out of his old place.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Well,
I
hey,
had a fine excuse for 2 hours to not.
exactly. Now I'm
She's
I'm taking
listening.
away your excuse. But hey guys,
How could you do this?
I know, how could I do that? But I absolutely appreciate you both. I hope we can do some more things together soon. And hey, thank you everyone that attended and listened in to us for the whole 2 hours. This was a nice, good show. You guys were nice and chatty, so appreciate that. If you have any other ideas of things you would like, anyone to speak at, or if you want to come on the show, definitely just make sure to let me know. I would appreciate it. You can come join our Discord. We would love to have you. And otherwise, to the Americans, have a safe Memorial Day tomorrow. And we'll see you again, not this Tuesday, but next Sunday. I am going to be taking the Tuesday after Memorial Day off, but we'll be back next week. So thank you again and have a good one, everybody.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
Bye, gang.